welcome to today's talk session. My name is Deidre Moss, and I am the host of Can We Talk? I am an educator, motivator, and a talk connoisseur. In honor of Women's International Day, Can We Talk would like to do our part in bringing awareness to outstanding women. My guest today is an outstanding young woman who is seeking to spread cultural awareness, particularly awareness of Bahamian culture, Bahamian language. Miss Cachet Knowles is the founder of I is a Bahamian Bay, and I'm excited to pass the virtual mic to her to have her introduce herself. Miss Knowles?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. First of all, I'm the founder of I is a Bahamian Bay, which is a platform on Instagram and Facebook that was started with the intentions of empowering Bahamian culture and Bahamian dialect specifically. What we do is we post Bahamian words or anything to do with culture to basically promote it and have it be posted on a shareable platform so that people can make other people in the world aware of the Bahamian culture and the Bahamas being more than just sun, sand, and sea. I do trivia Thursdays, I do music Mondays, and just anything that like sort of promotes the Bahamas on a cultural aspect.
Thank you, Ms. Knowles. And as I previously mentioned, Can We Talk would like to do our part to highlight outstanding women in honor of Women's International Day. Importantly, Women's International Day is celebrated on March 8th, which is today, throughout the world. And this day seeks to bring an awareness to the contribution of women, their impact on society, as well as the issues that impact that particular community. As I mentioned before, Cachet Knowles is seeking to make an impact by bringing an awareness of Bahamian culture and the language that we speak as native Bahamians. And so we'll get into our talk. So, Ms. Knowles, what is the inspiration behind the concept of I is a Bahamian Bay?
Well, the inspiration obviously is Bahamian culture. However, the idea came from in 2019, I was backpacking in Southeast Asia, and I was, introduced to so much culture from so many different countries and how much they embraced it and how much they empowered their culture and was proud of it. And I remember being at a cultural festival with two of my friends in Bali. And I was just so taken back at like the simplicity of it. Like I was sitting on the floor watching this like festival, not even a festival, it was sort of like a play of Indonesian culture and a story that they were putting on. And I remember messaging my mom and being like, why isn't the Bahamas like this? Like, why do we not embrace culture on a simplistic level? Like, every day we just sort of find something that like represents our culture. And nothing really ever came from the conversation, but I really owe that experience to like the conception of Eyes of Bahamian Bay. So fast forward 6 months later, it sort of just came to me like an epiphany. I ended up wanting to do an Instagram page to promote my art. And as I sort of developed the idea in the next 2 to 3 days in May of 2019, it sort of just flowed into Eyes of Bahamian Bay. And the idea was I'm going to use like my artistic, skills to educate Bahamians about Bohemian Creole and culture. And so I really just thought it was going to be like, a hobby. Like I never would have ever intended it would be to where it is now, because I just thought it would be something like, do on the side and just have fun with, which I still do. I love Eyes of Bahamian Bay, but like it turned into my career. So yeah, I mean, I love Bahamian culture. I love Bahamian people. And I think that's the thing that, keeps me inspired is, just the way Bahamians are in every aspect.
Thank you. So what do you think is so special about the language that we use in the Caribbean, specifically Bahamian dialect? What is so special about Bahamian dialect?
I think it's just the way it sounds. We have so many unique words, and the Bahamian Creole has such a big history behind it. Like, for instance, I recently posted that we sound similar to Gullah and Geechee people in South Carolina, and so many people are blown away with that because you know we're not taught to empower our language, and we're not even taught that it is a language, but it is. It's literally a language on its own. And it's just something that I want people to be more proud of. For me, it definitely has a personal story. This I struggled as a kid being able to like code switch and talk Bahamian and then talk like proper. So I really struggled to talk proper. I enjoy talking the way I like to talk, like my accent, my dialect, and speaking Bahamian. And so growing up, I was always corrected. You can't say I is I am. Yes, you can't say you going, you have to say I'm going. And my declaration, like at the age of like 4 to 5, was always like I would literally yell at whoever was correcting me and be like, I's a Bahamian. Like, just basically that's the explanation, like leave me alone. So that the I's a Bahamian has literally been my tagline, my slogan for my entire life practically. So now where I am and empowering our language, I'm now realizing like how important it is for us to identify that this is a language and this is a part of our identity. And if we don't validate it and acknowledge it, the language will disappear. Like it just won't be, you know, we will just be speaking English. And like even like it makes me sad even to in this interview, like my speech is very refined, Bahamian, because we've been so conditioned that it's not professional to speak. Yeah, that's why I speak the way that, like to drop that, like enunciating and pronouncing and all these things. So I want to sort of shift what we feel about the way that we speak when we, hanging out in the backyard.
Thank you. To me, it seems as though it's like you want us to have like a pride in our language and the way that we speak in our dialect and accept it for what it is and
Right.
acknowledge it and appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard you mention Bohemian Creole.
Hmm.
So what is Bohemian Creole?
So it's really interesting. Everyone in the Bahamas have grown up their entire life calling it Bahamian dialect. That's just a known. We speak a dialect. Recently found out, even like when I've had this platform for like a little bit over a year and a half, and I've called it Bahamian dialect literally from start to finish. And a week ago or 2-3 weeks ago, Bahamian linguistics professor at the University of Bahamas, I got in touch with her, and she was just like, it's not a dialect. We speak a type of Creole. And I know that Bahamians associate Creole with what is spoken in Haiti, but Creole is actually a language that's formed from a mixture between two or more languages. So an actual Creole is just a new language that has been formed from the combination of like English and Portuguese. So whatever comes from that, that's a Creole. So the way that even the fact that we call it a dialect, that's basically putting it down, because a dialect is a variation of a language. So like some people who speak a dialect, it would be a variation of English. It's English, but like it's like a slang. Whereas we actually have a Creole. Like there's a whole Bahamian dictionary of Bahamian words, and it's like 5,000 words. So in academic literature, the Bahamas does have its own language, and it's Bahamian Creole, as opposed to dialect. So like now that I found that out, I'm like on this mission to like, let's stop calling it a dialect, because a dialect is lesser than, it's not a language. So let's call it a Creole. Let's call it a language. Let's validate that we do have our own form of communication that's separate from the rest of the world.
Thank you. And now that we're aware that we actually speak a Creole,
Mhm.
as a young Bahamian woman, what are you doing to educate your cohort, your age group, or the younger generation behind you about Bahamian culture and Bahamian language?
So like that's what the Eyes of Women Bay brand is all about. Just basically me doing research and finding new things that I probably didn't know about, but then figuring out unique ways to make people my age interested, or even older people, younger people, doesn't really matter. But I feel like there's so much like knowledge and research out there, but the problem is that there's a disconnect between what has been studied and how it's being shared. So like there's this significant amount of papers on Bahamian Creole, Bahamian language, the history, when we started speaking the way that we did, the year and how, and just everything. But it stops at the research. The research is published, but like there's a disconnect between sharing that to the general public in a way that everyone can understand. So basically what I do is I figure out ways to share it in a way where people can be excited about it, want to talk about it, that it could people remember and learn and want to share with other people. So like for instance, the trivia Thursday that I do on my page every Thursday, I started that a little bit over a year ago as well. And basically I just take Bahamian fun facts or trivia or history and ask people questions. What's the national bird of the Bahamas? And it gets people excited. Like I've had so many people who are like in a corporate office. When I post trivia on Thursday, they gather up the whole office. Come. Let's see if we can know these. And half the time they get them wrong. Because I mean, some of them are common knowledge, and then some of them are really difficult things that you probably didn't even learn in school, but it gets people talking, it gets people interested, it gets people learning about what Bahamian identity and culture means.
Can you give me an example of something that you feel you would not readily have learned in school?
Ooh, let me think. There was a Bahamian, not a Bahamian, there was an American folk artist who came to Cat Island many years ago. His name is Alan Lomax. This is a trivia question that asks what his name was, and he basically went to Cat Island to produce music. So many people didn't know that. And I mean, like even me, I didn't know that. I actually partner with Baja Archives, which is a history page, to come up with a lot of these questions and figure out like how deep can we dive into history or even into like geography to figure out what questions we can ask. So like him, like he has actual music that was written and produced in Cat Island, but this is not something that's known. Or like NASA Speed Week. NASA Speed Week is when they used to have like basically like race cars come here in Nassau, and that like that they race. So there's so much that just is like completely overlooked.
That's great because it seems like you're not only trying to bring an awareness of language, but you're also kind of bringing an awareness of history as well, a little touch of history as well.
Yeah,
So that's great.
yeah,
Um,
I definitely try to do basically everything.
that's great. So, Ms. Knowles, how do you see yourself making an impact on your community and on your country as a whole?
Um, I think just by what I'm doing, I feel like I'm definitely making an impact in terms of being informative and sort of being a voice that speaks for, I guess, the Ice Bay Bay community. I can't say the whole Bahamas because it's only 12,000 people that follow me, but just sort of speaking on things that people mutually care about in terms of like a lot of people follow my page because they do love Bahamian culture and they do want it to be too far to the world. So I feel like in some regard, every day that I, post or do research or share like these things that you probably wouldn't have like at your fingertips if it wasn't for Eyes of Bahamian Bay. I think that it just propels us so much more further to like have more pride in who we are, um, and share that with the rest of the world. I feel like if we can become a country that is more aware of our identity and the resources and the people and the strength of the people, that we could get a lot more further than just depending on sunshine and sea.
I agree. And is there anything else that you would like to add? Or can you tell us a little more about yourself and your services?
So aside from the Instagram and Facebook page, I do sell shirts that have Bahamian, that are just related to Eyes of Bahamian Bay. So this is like my signature shirt right here, the Eyes of Bahamian Bay, with the 3 different
Oh, why the
spellings.
different spelling?
Pardon me?
Why the different spellings of bay?
So it's a big controversy of what the correct spelling is. So when I first came up with this design, which is when I literally first came out with the page, I wanted to promote inclusivity, but also have a space where it's like, yes, I understand that everyone spells it different or has a different reason or meaning, behind why they spell it the way that they do. But we all mean the same thing. Whatever way you spell it doesn't make you less than a Bahamian or more than a Bahamian. Like, it's just sort of a celebration of the similarities and differences that, make us Bahamian. So like, it's really fun, and it's a really fun conversation starter too, because a lot of people come up and be like, that's the right spelling there. It's just like, but is it though? So yeah, I sell shirts, hats, hoodies, um, cups, tumblers, just a lot of stuff with different Bahamian dialect on it. I'm actually gonna be having a pop-up at Bahamian Bistro downtown on Saturday. So if you want to come out and get, your Eyes Bahamian Bay stuff, then feel free. But yeah.
Thank you. And so, finally, in honor of Women's International Day, do you have any comments or anything you would like to add, as a fellow woman in womanhood?
Um,
As a Bahamian woman?
as a Bahamian woman, honestly, take up space, be loud, don't be interrupted, be aggressive, be bossy, just be you. Walk into a room and just be unapologetic for who you are and what you have to offer, because I feel like women have so much to offer, but a lot of times we get overlooked or interrupted, or we're shy. So take up space, walk in the room and take up all the space, because chances are your voice and your opinions is the thing that everyone needs.
Thank you,
You're
Miss
welcome.
Cachet Notes. Thank you, for sharing with us today. Thank you for sharing your platform. I is a Bahamian.
Hey.
Hey. So thank you for listening to our talk. I would like to thank my guest today, Ms. Cassie Knowles, as a Bohemian Bay. I would like to thank our viewers, our listening audience. So please like our page, Can We Talk? Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Can We Talk? Like our Instagram, Can underscore we underscore talk underscore 242. Thank you for listening to our talk today, and have a great day. Thank you, Ms. Notes.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.